And here with me in studio, our Microsoft Research Principal Researcher, Desney Tan, and University of Washington graduate student, Gabe Cohn. Welcome, gentlemen, and congratulations on your cameo there in the commercial.
Oh,
in the lab
thank you.
coat. You didn't think I would notice.
I did not.
You got a lab coat. Is there an extra street cred when you get
a
lab coat?
Absolutely.
Got to get one of those.
Yep.
I've only worn one at Halloween, but you got the real deal. So I don't want to oversell this thing, but I understand that you guys are going to sort of really talk about how we can control the universe with my mind waves.
Controlling the universe.
Yeah.
I thought we agreed we weren't going to expose our ploy to
Right.
control the universe.
I guess I should ask first, do you know what I'm thinking right now?
I do.
How deep does this go? So talk about what you're here. This is cool.
Sure. So I think you're alluding to some of our early
Yeah.
work in brain-computer interfaces. So this was the attempt to put electrodes or sensors on the head to basically provide much richer mechanisms for people to communicate with computers. Since then, we've actually grown that agenda quite a bit. It's something we refer to as natural user interfaces. The basic idea is this, that as computer scientists, we've spent a lot of time historically making computers smaller, faster, cheaper.
Right.
And we've done such a good job of it that we've really shifted the problem space quite a bit recently. We now work on making computing more accessible, more of the time, more of the place, to more people, and really to do more interesting things. And this is really the underlying philosophy around natural user interfaces. Now, if you look at natural user interfaces and you look at Rick Rashid's keynote this morning, he alludes to what we mean by natural user interfaces. And one component of this is really in empowering computers with way more senses than they've traditionally had. This really allows us to do two things. One is it gives us the ability to design far richer communication channels between the human and computers. And the other is, even when we're not trying to communicate with computers, it allows our computers to observe us and to be aware of our location and our the tasks we're trying to do and other such context so that they can be invisibly assisting us in our tasks. So rather than talk about brain-computer interfaces today, we actually thought we'd come
because that's yesterday's news to you, right? You're like, oh, that old stuff?
It is where we started. Everything emanates from the brain.
Right.
We've actually moved to the rest of the body. It turns out the body is this wonderful signal generator. We're emanating signals all the time.
Right.
And so the approach we've been taking has been one of getting these sensors either carried or worn on the body to be able to infer a bunch of activities, whether explicit or implicit, with the user, such that the computer can help us in our everyday
So you're really
tasks.
talking about like making us an antenna.
So that is part of the project that we're going to talk about. We've tried a bunch of stuff in the space. For example, in a collaboration with the University of Washington, we played with this thing we call muscle-computer interfaces. So this is the notion that we'd like to be able to sense finger gestures as you go about your real-world tasks to be able to communicate with computers. Turns out most people don't want to wear gloves to be able to sense those finger gestures. And so one of the grad students there, Scott Saponis, who actually works for Microsoft now, designed an armband that looks at your muscle activity to be able to sense those fine-grained finger motion. Different project called Skinput. So Chris Harrison from CMU came out and interned with us, looked at how you would turn your body into the touch surface.
Wow.
Much akin to some of the augmented reality stuff that was demoed in the keynote this morning. So a long string of cool projects.
Well, and you talk about your partnership with the University of Washington. Gabe, proud grad. Talk about how you entered this equation.
Well, I'm not quite a proud grad yet. I'm actually in the
Oh, have I
middle
jinxed
of my,
you?
Yeah, I know.
Well, hit the books. Get out of here. You got it. No. Okay.
So I'm a third-year PhD student at the
Great.
University of Washington.
Okay.
And I work in the Ubiquitous Computing Lab under Shwetak Patel. And we do a lot of work on sensing, and we seem to focus on sensing in a very small way. So we want to do sensing a lot of different things. We want to do it with a single sensor. So for example, we've done a lot of work in the home for sustainability. So you could have one sensor you plug into your wall, and you could sense all the different appliances in your home and how much power they're consuming.
Wow.
We've done a similar thing for water and gas and other things. And so
Kind of a home audit. You could be able
right,
to tell
exactly,
what's going
and again from a single sensor. So it's very
Wow.
easy to do this. You install one sensor, and now you know what's going on in your house. And so the partnership that we have here was basically, all right, let's take this knowledge that my lab has and that I have in doing very low instrumentation in order to get a lot of information about what's going on with a lot of the natural user interfaces that Desney and his group has done. And can we, with minimal instrumentation, figure out what your body's doing so that a computer knows?
You're talking about literally the idea of being able to wear a device so I could walk into the house and sort of control stuff.
Exactly.
Like lights and what, right?
That's right. I think it's also worth pointing out that in the world of mobile computing, in
Yeah.
which we live today, there's basically two approaches to trying to sense what the human is doing. One is to put instrumentation in the environment, so cameras, other sensors, and you could instrument all environments that you care to compute in. We don't think that ultimately that will scale amazingly well. We just don't want to be instrumenting every single environment in every room in the world with a particular set.
Well, I saw that, on here, zero environmental instrumentation.
That's right.
Is that what you're talking
That's right.
about? You're talking about having nothing there.
That's right. So with no augmentation to the environment, a simple sensor that the user carries, we'd like to be able to sense some of the things in complement with the sensors that happen to be in the environment already.
Like, what would you carry? Like full body armor, I assume, with all sorts of blinking things in a Jacob's ladder going off of antennas on my helmet.
Well, that's what I'd like to look at.
That's right.
We kind of all would, right? But you're
that's
talking
kinda-
about something more practical?
Yes. So that's how it starts in the research lab. In fact,
Yeah.
if you come into the lab, you'll see us daily wearing all sorts of crazy stuff and
Right.
walking around. Ultimately, the evolution of technology is such that we try to get it smaller and smaller and smaller and more practical for ease of use in the real world.
So how small have we gotten? Where are we at?
So we have gotten it down to this slightly larger than
Wow.
a wristwatch form factor.
Yeah. All right. So here's my watch. Here's your watch. Mine
Yeah,
just
so-
tells time. Lame. So what does this do?
So this will allow you to, by simply putting that on, you can actually interact with a computer using gestures. So,
For example.
for example, you could be gaming, similar to Kinect, or you could, as you said before, control your lights or other home automation by just, waving your arms or.
So this is like the ultimate, like, I could have the Force. Like, if I could get one of these and not tell my wife and daughters, I could,
You could
Could
have the
really-
Force.
You could have the
It
I don't
is
need
true.
any light. I'll go off.
Exactly
Got cred.
Yep.
Wow. This is pretty impressive. So this is we actually have some video of the earlier prototype. That's got to be part of the fun process, right? Is to see the evolution
yeah.
of your own work here. I mean,
Sure.
here it is.
So this is
in,
actually
early
this
stages.
prototype, and what you can see is,
Yeah.
I'm performing some action, and you can see the thing is sensing that the top signal is actually the value from the sensor. And so you notice that when I was moving my leg before, even though the wristwatch itself wasn't moving, we could sense that leg movement, which,
Wow.
for example, with an accelerometer you can't do.
Wow. And so talk about how this is really working in partnership with the body. I mean, like the olden days of grabbing the antenna and somehow I get a better reception, or some people believe it works or not with your car remote. If I hold it up to my chin,
Exactly.
I can get it to unlock much further away. It's actually working with the body, right?
And that's how it works. The body is acting as an antenna.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, the power lines and appliances in your home or any building you work in are emitting electromagnetic noise. And this is very low frequency noise, and it's received on the body. And based on how you move, that noise signature actually changes. And so that's what we're looking at. We're just measuring the voltage on your body, and we can figure out where you are and how you're moving.
And obviously there would be some concerns at face value without really looking into it going, well, does that mean there's stuff going through? Because I already hear holding my cell phone and being on it too much is putting bad waves
So-
in me. Should I be concerned about what's going from the watch through my body and out?
So the nice thing is, unlike your cell phone, this watch isn't transmitting anything. We're simply listening to the signals that are already on your body.
Wow.
So as you're sitting here right now, there is signal that's going through your body. To take your analogy, which is a great one, when you grab that antenna, you could move your body around, and your TV reception, your radio reception would change. It's kind of a pain because you'd let go sit on the couch, and it get fuzzy again. All we're really doing is looking at that signal that's already passing through your body.
You have
and-
more video here of sort of the demo on how, as you
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
you can wave your arm, it responds.
Yes.
Those are impressive
So
punches, by the way.
here's Gabe in the lab.
Yes.
This is what we
It
have
took-
many of our students do.
Months of practice to get that punch kick down.
Right.
I had to learn how to play Tetris too.
Wow. So this is pretty impressive stuff. And for you guys, I mean, how long has this process been to get to even where we are now?
So it's been about 2 years since we first had the idea. In fact, nearly 2 years ago now, actually over 2 years ago now, Shwetak Patel, Gabe's advisor, came over and he said, hey, I've got this really young student that's going to be a superstar.
But he's great at punching and kicking.
Indeed.
You've got to
indeed.
see his punches and kicks.
And we said, we'll take him.
Okay. And they said, and he's free because he's a student. We'll take him.
That's right.
Well, and a lot of folks, I feel like, for watching this are going to say, you know, if they just see that demo, they're going to go, well, wait, doesn't like Connect already do that? I can already wave my hand and stuff happens on the screen. So, I mean, obviously this is different because you're not talking about just what's happening on the screen.
That's right. And so a part of the video here, which we didn't show, but, you know, Gabe is able to turn around and do the punches and kicks. And, you know, since there isn't a camera or a sensor in the environment, there are no occlusion issues. The sensor is on him and he is the sensor. You know, you could go to a different room, you know, potentially a new room that you've never, you know, instrumented, and this thing would still work. And so the opportunities for mobile computing and for the richness of computing actually, you know, is very nicely complementary to sensors like Connect and other such environmental sensors.
I'm sure there's any number of things that you could list here, but what, from your perspective, has been the toughest part of evolving, you know, the human antenna, as you're calling it? Well, what's been the trickiest part in getting to the stage?
The trickiest part is actually the initial part, is finding out that this works.
Right.
And the way this happened is I went to Desney's house, and you know, I had a bunch of lab equipment with me that I was hooked up in different places, and I just started standing in his living room doing strange gestures and watching the equipment to see if something changed.
Right.
And you know, we saw something, and then we explored that deeper and figured out why.
Yeah, I got a phone call from my wife that day, and she called and told me, hey, your intern's in the house, and he's standing around waving his arms and doing some weird stuff. Is that okay?
Right.
This is how I met his wife. You know,
Yeah.
I'm standing there doing these weird things, and she walks in and is
Right.
like, oh, hi.
Right. Well, it's sort of the concern I had when I first got Connect. I remember going, I think I need to close the blinds because the neighbors are just going to walk by and see me doing weird stuff in the window. I'm going to be profiled in the neighborhood as the weirdo. So, yeah, I mean, that's what's fascinating looking at this, you know, prototype.